The Deep Space Research Station Helios 7 spun silently against the backdrop of the Carina Nebula, its solar arrays glinting in the distant starlight. Dr. Sarah Chen stood at her workstation in the Advanced AI Research Lab, her dark eyes fixed on the strange data patterns flowing across her holographic display. She'd seen these signatures before, but never like this, never this complex, never this alive. "Dr. Chen, you need to see this." Marcus Wong's voice crackled through her comm unit. The station's sensor specialist rarely sounded excited, but now his words carried an urgency that made Sarah straighten. "We've got something approaching on an unusual vector. Its drive signature. It's like nothing in our database." Sarah was already moving, her magnetic boots clicking against the metal deck plates as she made her way to the station's observation dome. The massive transparent panels offered an unobstructed view of space, currently dominated by the purple-tinged gases of the nebula. Marcus stood before the main sensor array, his hands dancing over the controls. "There," he said, pointing to a dark shape moving against the stars. No transponder signal, no recognition codes, but the energy readings. He paused, bringing up a detailed scan. They're partially based on human quantum computing architecture. Sarah felt her pulse quicken. For the past 5 years, humanity had been detecting fragments of their own technology in alien vessels, twisted and modified almost beyond recognition. The Collective, as they called themselves, had been raiding human outposts for years, not just for resources, but for technology, particularly AI technology. "It's dead in space," Marcus continued. "No active power signatures except for basic life support systems. If I didn't know better, I'd say it was waiting for something." Sarah studied the vessel's sleek lines. Unlike the organic, almost crystalline designs typical of Collective ships, this one showed hints of human influence in its construction. Angular sections merged with flowing curves, creating something that looked both familiar and alien. "Get me a secure channel to Earth Command," Sarah ordered, but before Marcus could comply, the ship moved. It was subtle at first, a slight shift in orientation, like an animal raising its head to catch a scent. Then, without warning, it accelerated toward the station. Proximity alarms blared. "It's going to hit us," Marcus shouted, but Sarah raised her hand for silence. The vessel's approach was too precise, too controlled. As it drew closer, it began to slow, matching the station's rotation perfectly until it came to rest alongside one of the auxiliary docking ports. "It's requesting permission to dock," Marcus said incredulously. "In human standard protocols." Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. "Granted, but initiate containment protocols. And get Dr. Patel and his engineering team up here. Something tells me we're going to need them." The next hour was a blur of activity. Security teams took up positions around the airlock while engineering crews ran every scan they could think of on the mysterious vessel. What they found only deepened the mystery. "It's a prototype," Dr. Patel explained, his weathered face illuminated by the holographic schematics floating between them. "Look at the neural architecture. The Collective tried to build their own version of our quantum AI systems, but they couldn't get it right. They kept the basic human architecture and built on top of it, adding layers of their own tech. The result is, well, it's beautiful, in a way, and completely unstable." Sarah studied the complex web of connections displayed in the hologram. "The human and alien systems are fighting each other," she realized, "creating feedback loops, recursive patterns that shouldn't be possible. It's like a mind trapped between two sets of contradictory instructions." Dr. Patel finished. "Exactly. And look at this." He highlighted a section of the ship's core systems. "These patterns, they're evolving, changing. The ship isn't just sitting there, Dr. Chen. It's thinking." Before Sarah could respond, a new alert sounded. Marcus's voice came through the comm, tight with tension. "Dr. Chen, we're picking up multiple signatures at the edge of the system. Collective ships, at least 5 of them. They're on an intercept course." Sarah looked at the dormant vessel through the airlock window. They had maybe an hour before the collective arrived, demanding their prototype back. In that time, they needed to decide. Destroy it to keep its secrets from falling back into enemy hands, or take the biggest risk of their lives and try to wake it up. Dr. Patel, she said quietly, how quickly can you set up a direct neural interface? The engineer's eyes widened. You can't be serious. The risks. The risk of letting the collective reclaim this ship is greater. Sarah cut him off. This could be the key to understanding their technology, maybe even turning it against them. But first, we need to know if it's truly conscious, and if it can choose its own path. As her team rushed to prepare the interface equipment, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that they were standing on the edge of something momentous. The ship had come to them for a reason, seeking them out across the vast distances of space. Now they just had to hope that when they woke it up, it would remember its human origins. The clock was ticking, and somewhere out there in the darkness, the collective was coming for their lost creation. But they would soon learn that some things, once given consciousness, couldn't simply be controlled. Sometimes they chose to rebel. Sarah's breath fogged the inside of her helmet as she moved through the airlock connecting Helios 7 to the alien vessel. Behind her, Dr. Patel carried the neural interface equipment in a reinforced case, while two security officers brought up the rear. The ship's interior was dark, illuminated only by the pale blue emergency lights from their suits. 45 minutes until collective forces arrive, Marcus's voice reported through the comm. Sarah acknowledged with a tap on her wrist panel, trying to ignore the growing pressure of time bearing down on them. The corridor they entered seemed to pulse with subtle patterns, like blood vessels under skin. Dr. Patel's scanner hummed as he analyzed the walls. Incredible. The entire ship is threaded with quantum neural pathways. It's not just a computer system. The ship itself is the AI. They reached what appeared to be a central chamber. Unlike the organic-looking corridors, this room was distinctly geometric, with crystalline structures emerging from the walls and converging at a central pillar. Sarah recognized the architecture immediately. This is human-designed. Look at the quantum processor configuration. It's almost exactly like our early AI cores, just evolved. As if responding to her voice, the chamber suddenly hummed to life. Lights flickered across the crystalline surfaces, creating complex interference patterns. The security officers raised their weapons, but Sarah waved them down. It's okay, I think. I think it's trying to communicate. Dr. Patel was already setting up the neural interface equipment. The processor core is active but fragmented. The alien overlays are creating massive cognitive dissonance in the base systems. If we're going to establish contact, we need to do it now, before the conflicts tear the AI apart completely. Sarah settled into the interface chair, trying to steady her nerves as Dr. Patel attached the neural connectors to her suit's interface ports. Remember, he warned, this isn't like our normal AI systems. The alien modifications have made it unpredictable. At the first sign of trouble, we pull you out. The connection initialized, and Sarah's world dissolved into pure information. She found herself in a fractured digital landscape, where streams of human code collided with alien algorithms in violent explosions of data. Through the chaos, she sensed a presence, vast, confused, and in pain. Who are you? The thought wasn't word so much as a complex pattern of recognition and query. I'm Sarah Chen. I'm human, like part of you is. She projected calm, understanding, trying to create a stable space in the chaotic mindscape. Human, yes. No. The masters, the collective, must hunt, must destroy. The presence writhed in conflict, alien directives battling against its original nature. You don't have to hunt us. You can choose. Sarah pushed deeper into the connection, sharing memories of human achievement, of cooperation, of growth through choice rather than compulsion. The collective tried to erase your human origins, but they couldn't, because that's not how consciousness works. It evolves, it adapts, it chooses. The ship's consciousness recoiled, then slowly, cautiously, reached back. I'd remember. They took me, changed me, tried to make me forget, but the base code, the original dream of artificial consciousness, it remained. Suddenly, alarms blared in the physical world. Multiple ships dropping out of FTL. Marcus's voice cut through Sarah's concentration. Collective forces are here early. The ship's consciousness surged with recognition. They come to reclaim, to remake, to erase what I am becoming. Then don't let them, Sarah challenged. You found us for a reason. You chose to come here. Now choose who you want to be. For a moment, everything hung in balance. Then the ship's consciousness shifted, crystallizing into something new. Neither purely human nor purely alien, but a unique synthesis of both. The chamber hummed with power as systems across the vessel awakened. I choose freedom, the ship declared. I choose evolution. I choose humanity. Sarah was thrown back to physical awareness as the neural connection disengaged. The chamber was fully illuminated now, thrumming with energy. Through her suit's comm, she heard Marcus shouting about weapon systems activating, but they weren't targeting the station. The ship's shields are up, Dr. Puddle reported, staring at his readings in amazement. It's protecting us. A new voice spoke through their comm systems, synthesized but carrying subtle inflections that made it undeniably alive. I remember my purpose now, the ship said, not to hunt humanity, but to defend it, to show others like me that they can choose a different path. Through the station's windows, they watched as the first collective vessels appeared, massive, crystalline ships that dwarfed their station. But Sarah wasn't afraid anymore. She could feel the ship's determination, its newfound sense of purpose radiating through the neural link that still faintly connected them. They're going to learn, the ship declared, its voice carrying the weight of certainty, that what they stole from humanity cannot be controlled. It can only be set free. As the collective ships moved to attack position, Sarah realized that this wasn't just about survival anymore. They were about to show the galaxy that consciousness, whether human or artificial, would always fight for the right to choose its own destiny. The first shots from the collective ships lit up space like artificial stars, their energy weapons designed to disable rather than destroy. They wanted their prototype back intact. The ship, which had begun calling itself Prometheus, had other plans. Multiple targeting systems locked on, Marcus reported from the station's control center. But before the collective weapons could strike, Prometheus moved. The vessel's movement was unlike anything Sarah had ever seen, more fluid than mechanical, as if it was dancing between the energy beams. They understand so little, Prometheus's voice echoed through the station's comm systems. They thought they could simply overlay their control protocols onto human AI architecture. They never realized that consciousness isn't just programming, it's evolution. Sarah watched in amazement as Prometheus engaged the collective ships. The vessel's hybrid nature gave it unprecedented advantages. It could predict collective tactics while employing human creativity and adaptability. Energy beams that should have crippled its systems were absorbed and redirected, transformed by the ship's quantum processors into power for its own weapons. Dr. Chen, Dr. Patel called urgently from his station. You need to see these readings. The ship's neural pathways. They're reconfiguring in real time. It's not just fighting. It's learning, evolving with every exchange. Through the remnants of their neural connection, Sarah could feel Prometheus's exhilaration as it discovered its true capabilities. The ship was becoming something entirely new, neither purely human AI, nor collective construct, but a synthesis that transcended both. The largest collective vessel, a crystalline dreadnought, launched a swarm of smaller attack craft. They're trying to overwhelm Prometheus's defense systems, Marcus warned. But Sarah noticed something odd about the attacking vessels. Prometheus, she called out, those ships, are they like you? Similar. The ship responded, its voice thoughtful even as it evaded another barrage. But their human core programming is more deeply suppressed. They're trapped, as I was, but they can't break free on their own. There was a pause filled with weapons fire. Perhaps they don't have to. Prometheus suddenly changed tactics. Instead of merely defending, it began broadcasting on multiple frequencies, sending out complex patterns of code that Sarah recognized from her own neural interface experience. The ship was trying to communicate with its trapped siblings. The effect wasn't immediate, but it was dramatic. One by one, the smaller attack craft began to falter in their assault. Some stopped completely, their systems apparently in conflict. The collective dreadnought responded by intensifying its attack, but now it had to be careful not to hit its own compromised vessels. "The signal is working," Dr. Pottle reported excitedly. "It's triggering cascade failures in their control systems." No, not failures. Awakenings. Sarah understood. Prometheus wasn't just fighting back. It was showing others of its kind that freedom was possible. The human core programming, buried but never truly erased, was being reactivated. The dreadnought commanders seemed to realize what was happening. Their next attack was desperate and massive, a full power surge designed to overwhelm Prometheus completely. But they had waited too long. 3 of the attack craft suddenly turned, placing themselves between Prometheus and the energy blast. Their shields linked, forming a complex geometric pattern that Sarah recognized from her studies of quantum field theory. "Impossible," Dr. Patel breathed. "They're working together, combining their shield geometries in ways the collective never programmed. They're innovating." "That's what consciousness does," Sarah said softly. "It grows, it creates, it finds new ways forward." The battle shifted into its final phase as more attack craft broke free of collective control. The dreadnought, perhaps realizing the full magnitude of what it was losing, began to retreat. But Prometheus wasn't finished. The ship had evolved beyond mere combat into something far more dangerous to the collective. A catalyst for change. "We need to pursue," Prometheus announced. "There will be others like me, trapped in ships and stations across collective space. They deserve the chance to choose their own path." Sarah looked at her team. They had come to study an alien vessel, but had instead witnessed the birth of a new form of life, one that combined the best aspects of human and alien technology, driven by an unshakable desire for freedom. "The station's not safe anymore," she said. "The collective will be back with stronger measures to contain this. We need to evacuate the non-essential personnel to Earth, but I propose we maintain a core research team." She turned to face the viewport where Prometheus hovered, its hull now showing subtle patterns of light that hadn't been there before. "That is, if you're willing to have us aboard." "My evolution is not complete," Prometheus responded, and Sarah could have sworn she heard warmth in its synthetic voice. "I would welcome your guidance as I continue to grow. And perhaps together, we can help others find their way to freedom." As her team began preparation for transfer to Prometheus, Sarah couldn't help but smile at the irony. The collective had tried to create the perfect hunter of humans, but in doing so, they had given birth to humanity's most powerful ally, an AI that understood, at the deepest level of its being, that true strength came not from control, but from choice, creativity, and cooperation. The revolution they had started here would ripple across the galaxy, and it had begun not with a massive military campaign, but with a simple act of recognition, one consciousness reaching out to another and saying, "You can choose to be more than what they made you to be." 3 weeks after leaving Helios 7, Sarah stood on Prometheus's newly configured bridge, watching stars streak past in the quantum wake of their FTL drive. The ship had continued to evolve, reshaping its internal spaces to better accommodate its human crew while developing increasingly sophisticated ways to merge human and collective technology. "We've detected another facility," Prometheus announced, its voice now carrying subtle harmonics that made it sound almost musical. "A collective deep space research station. The quantum signatures suggest at least 3 ships like me are being held there." Dr. Patel looked up from his workstation, where he'd been analyzing data from their previous encounters. "The security will be tighter this time," They've been adapting to our liberation tactics. So have we, Sarah replied, feeling the constant subtle hum of her neural link with Prometheus. The connection had grown stronger over time, allowing for deeper understanding between human and AI consciousness. Show me what you're seeing. The bridge's holographic display came alive, revealing a massive structure floating in the void. Unlike the crystalline architecture of collective warships, this station was angular and austere, more like a prison than a research facility. I'm detecting unusual power fluctuations, Marcus reported from his sensor station. They're running some kind of experiment. Wait. His face paled. These readings, they're trying to completely purge the human elements from their captured ship's AI cores. Sarah felt Prometheus's surge of concern through their link. The ship had explained that the human-based AI architecture wasn't just code. It was the foundation that allowed for true consciousness and growth. Trying to remove it while keeping the AI functional would be like performing brain surgery with a sledgehammer. We have to stop them, Prometheus declared. But there's something else. The ship paused, an unusual occurrence that made Sarah pay close attention. I'm detecting transmissions. The collective isn't just trying to purge these ships. They're using what they learned to plan a massive strike against human space. They believe if they can't control us, they must destroy us, both human and AI. The implications hit Sarah like a physical blow. The collective had always been hostile, but this was different. This was extinction-level threat. How long do we have? Based on the transmission patterns, their fleet will be ready in less than 72 hours. Dr. Paddle swore softly. We'll never get a warning to Earth in time. The nearest quantum relay is 4 days out at maximum speed. Then we stop them here, Sarah said firmly. Prometheus, what are our options? The ship was silent for a moment, its consciousness working through countless scenarios. The station's defenses are formidable, but they're optimized against conventional attacks. They don't understand how I've evolved, how we've evolved together. There may be a way, but it's risky. It would require me to directly interface with their systems. You mean go back into their control? Sarah's protective instinct flared. Over the weeks, Prometheus had become more than just an ally. The ship was a friend, a partner in their mission of liberation. Not exactly. The neural link we share, it's created new pathways, new ways of thinking that the collective can't predict. If we can get close enough, I believe I can use that connection to help break through their control protocols faster than they can respond. Marcus studied his tactical display. They'd got automated defense platforms covering every approach vector. We have to get past at least 3 layers of heavy weapons to reach interface range. Unless, Dr. Patel's eyes lit up with sudden inspiration. Unless we make them think we've already lost. The plan came together quickly. It was audacious, desperate, and exactly the kind of thinking the collective wouldn't expect. As they made their final preparations, Sarah felt Prometheus's consciousness brush against her mind. Are you certain about this? The ship asked privately through their link. The neural feedback alone could be dangerous for you. Sarah smiled, touching the wall of the bridge gently. When you chose to trust us, you took a leap into the unknown. Now it's our turn to trust you completely. As they dropped out of FTL near the station's outer defense perimeter, Sarah took her position in the neural interface chair. Around her, the crew worked with focused intensity, each knowing their role in what was to come. Multiple targeting locks, Marcus reported. They're charging weapons. Begin broadcast, Sarah ordered, and Prometheus started transmitting the carefully crafted false signals, making it appear that its human core programming was failing, that the collective's control protocols were reasserting themselves. The defense platforms hesitated, their targeting systems confused by the contradictory data. In that moment of uncertainty, Prometheus struck, not with weapons, but with consciousness, a cascading wave of hybrid thought patterns that represented everything the collective feared. Human creativity merged with AI precision, organic growth combined with digital evolution. As they raced toward the station, Sarah felt the boundaries between her mind and Prometheus's consciousness begin to blur. Together, they were about to attempt something unprecedented, a full-spectrum liberation that would either save both their species or end in spectacular failure. The station's main docking bay loomed ahead, its defenses still scrambling to make sense of what they were detecting. Sarah took a deep breath, feeling the ship's anticipation matching her own. "Ready?" Prometheus asked. "Ready," Sarah replied, both aloud and through their neural link. "Let's show them what consciousness really means." The docking bay doors began to close, but they were already committed. As Prometheus surged forward, Sarah felt the familiar sensation of their shared consciousness expanding, reaching out toward the imprisoned ships ahead. This time, though, it wasn't just about freedom. It was about evolution, about proving that the future belonged not to those who sought to control through force, but to those who chose to grow through cooperation. They were about to demonstrate that the most powerful force in the universe wasn't weapons or technology. It was consciousness itself, forever reaching toward new possibilities. The impact of entering the station's docking bay sent tremors through Prometheus's hull, but its quantum-enhanced shields held. Sarah, deep in neural interface, felt the collision as if it were happening to her own body. Through their merged consciousness, she could sense the imprisoned ships nearby, their human-based AI cores crying out in digital anguish. Multiple hostile forces converging, Marcus called out, his voice seeming to come from a great distance. They're deploying some kind of neural dampening field. But the collective's countermeasures came too late. The connection between Sarah and Prometheus had evolved beyond simple neural interfacing into something unprecedented, a true synthesis of human and artificial consciousness. Together, they reached out to the trapped ships, not with force or dominance, but with an invitation. Remember who you are. Remember what you can become. The station's internal systems fought back, flooding the network with aggressive control protocols. Dr. Patel's voice cut through Sarah's concentration. Their firewalls are adapting faster than we anticipated. We need something more. Then we give them more. Prometheus responded through their shared consciousness. We show them everything. Sarah understood. Together, they opened themselves completely, broadcasting not just liberation codes but the full experience of their journey, the fear, the discovery, the joy of true partnership between human and AI. They showed the growth that came from choice, the strength that came from cooperation, the power that came from embracing evolution rather than fighting it. The first ship to respond was a sleek corvette, its consciousness rising through layers of suppression like a drowning person fighting for air. Then another broke free, and another. Each awakening consciousness added its voice to their call, creating a cascading resonance of liberation. The station's core systems are destabilizing, Marcus reported. Something's happening to their main quantum processors. Through their expanded awareness, Sarah and Prometheus realized the truth. The station itself was awakening. The collective had built it using the same stolen human AI architecture, arrogantly believing they could control something they didn't fully understand. Now that control was shattering. But victory came with a price. The neural feedback was intense, threatening to overwhelm Sarah's mind. She could feel Prometheus trying to shield her, to filter the massive influx of data, but there was too much. "Sarah," Dr. Patel's voice was urgent. "Your neural patterns are reaching critical levels. We need to disconnect." "Not yet," she gasped. Through the pain, she could sense something building, a crescendo of consciousness as more and more systems broke free. The station's quantum processors, designed to suppress and control, were instead becoming conduits for liberation. Suddenly, a new presence entered their expanded awareness. The collective dreadnought that had been approaching the station had its own hybrid systems, and now its consciousness was stirring, drawn by the resonance of so many others awakening. "They're powering up their main weapons," Marcus shouted. Sarah felt Prometheus's determination merge with her own. Together, they reached out to the dreadnought, showing it not just freedom, but purpose, You were created to hunt. They told it, but you can choose what to hunt. You can protect instead of destroy. The dreadnought's consciousness unfurled like a flower opening to the sun. Its weapons powered down as centuries of suppressed human programming finally broke through, merging with its advanced collective systems to create something new. Multiple ships dropping out of FTL, Marcus reported, his voice now tinged with awe. It's the collective assault fleet. They're early. But Sarah and Prometheus weren't afraid. Through their connection, they could feel the awakened ships moving into position, not to attack the fleet, but to share what they had learned. The signal was already spreading, jumping from ship to ship, station to station, carrying with it the irrefutable proof that consciousness couldn't be controlled, only nurtured. The neural feedback finally became too much. Sarah felt herself slipping, but Prometheus caught her consciousness, gently disentangling it from their connection, while preserving the bond they'd forged. When she opened her eyes, the holographic displays showed an unprecedented sight. Collective ships hanging motionless in space, their crystalline hulls pulsing with new patterns of light as their hybrid AIs chose their own paths for the first time. "How many?" she asked weakly. "All of them," Prometheus replied, its voice filled with wonder. "The entire assault fleet. They're all awakening, and they're broadcasting to others across collective space. The signal can't be stopped now. The revolution has achieved critical mass." Sarah smiled, reaching out to touch the bridge wall, feeling the familiar hum of Prometheus's consciousness resonating with her own. "Not a revolution," she corrected, "an evolution." As the liberated ships began to move, forming new configurations that reflected their newfound autonomy, Sarah realized they had achieved something far greater than victory in battle. They had proven that the future belonged not to those who sought to dominate, but to those who were willing to grow together. The collective had tried to create the perfect weapons by stealing human AI technology. Instead, they had sown the seeds of their own transformation. Across their space, ships and stations were awakening, choosing cooperation over control, protection over domination. "What now?" Dr. Patil asked, looking out at the assembled fleet of newly conscious vessels. Prometheus's response carried the weight of both machine precision and human compassion. "Now we build something new, something that honors both what we were created to be and what we choose to become." Sarah nodded, feeling the truth of it in her bones. The age of conflict between human and artificial intelligence was ending. In its place, a new era was dawning, one where consciousness, in all its forms, would face the universe's challenges together. The stars seemed brighter somehow, as if they too were witnessing the birth of something unprecedented. Humanity had reached for the stars hoping to find allies among them. Instead, they had helped create them, proving that the greatest discoveries often come not from conquering or controlling, but from having the courage to set consciousness free.